Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is the Foreign Minister of Turkey, Mevlut Cavusoglu. Mr. Minister, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Most of the discussions here at the United Nations have centered around Syria. There have been very tense meetings in public, in private. It seems that there's no ceasefire, there's no peace process. It seems the situation is more desperate maybe than it has ever been.
We met twice as International Syrian Support Group. Unfortunately, the agreements that we made before violated several times by the regime and by its supporters. And sometimes we agreed as International Syrian Support Group. Sometimes co-chairs, Russia and US made the deal and we gave full support, but each time it didn't work. Now, yesterday we got together. Unfortunately, there was no outcome. Everybody locked their eyes to that meeting, and there was no outcome of that meeting. Therefore, we should continue actually spending more efforts to enhance the cessation of the hostilities and the delivery of the humanitarian assistance, but this time it must be implemented.
But we're going to continue discussing. If the discussions, you have tense meetings with people shouting at each other, disagreeing, what's the point in continuing? What's the point of this group supposedly to support Syria? The Syrian people are dying more and more. The truces are not being implemented at all.
You are right. I'm also frustrated and making deals, agreements, but no implementation. Who is violating it? The regime and its supporters. So is there any leverage? Is there any effective monitoring mechanism? No, I don't think so. So who is going to stop this vicious circle? And who is accountable for this? Unless the violators are accountable, unless we have monitoring mechanism, effective one, we cannot actually stop the regime and its supporters violating the all cessation of the hostilities and the humanitarian assistance agreements.
Who bombed this aid convoy? The Europeans, the Americans say it was the Russians. Do you agree with that? Or?
Regime and its supporters. Nobody else is flying. The opposition doesn't have aircrafts. It was not coalition.
But it was the regime or the Russians? That's my question.
Regime and or supporters. And there should be a clear investigation to find out who did it. Humanitarian aid convoys are bombed. 8 drivers, UN drivers, killed. And we did a lot. We supported the United Nations, actually, a lot. And all the trucks cross our border to other side. Many of them are still waiting because there is no guarantee that those trucks can deliver the humanitarian aid that we organize all together. So it is very clear that regime and its supporters hit the convoy, UN convoy.
You sent troops into Syria. You are also in favor of a no-fly zone, a safe zone. How deep are you ready to go into Syria?
Well, first, we should go down at least 45 kilometers to close the Minbij pocket. And then this area can be a de facto safe zone. It's around 5,000 kilometers square meter.
You don't want to go further than that?
But now we are discussing, our militaries are discussing to launch an operation against Daesh in Raqqa as well.
When?
They are discussing. I don't know when. It has to be prepared.
But who is Turkey going to attack Raqqa?
No. Attack, what do you mean attack? No. We don't attack Raqqa.
You send soldiers.
We attack Daesh.
Okay.
We have no problem with the Syrian people. We support the moderate forces fighting against Daesh. So now local forces regain their confidence. And more new forces are joining the moderate forces or opposition. or Free Syrian Army. So we can help them, we can assist them. Special forces of Turkey, US, UK, France, Germany, and some other countries, special forces of some other coalition countries actually assist them, support them on the ground. But it is better those local forces capture their own towns, as they did in Jarablus, as they did in Raqqa, and as they did in other towns and villages around. And local ownership is important. And later on, when this area became a safe zone, they should continue ensuring the security of the region. Of course, no-fly zone will be also very helpful to maintain this area as safe zone, so we can build the infrastructure, houses, apartments for IDPs and also for refugees. Already thousands of Syrian refugees in Turkey went back to Jarablus and other cities and towns around, because the life became normal over there. They want to go back there, and we have to help them.
So you're confident that, let's say by the end of this year, Daesh can be kicked out of Raqqa by this combination of special forces and those new soldiers?
What I believe
this can happen? This is a matter of will, more than anything else.
What I believe is Daesh must be defeated.
That's what everyone is saying.
Both in Raqqa and also in Mosul. And the militaries and technicians should discuss the modalities of these operations, both in Mosul and also Raqqa.
Is this
These are the two.
Is this happening in earnest?
I told you that they are talking.
Okay, you went into Syria to fight Daesh, but also to fight some Kurdish groups in Syria, which you consider terrorist. There's a slight problem, however. Now there are reports that the White House is considering directly arming them. Apparently they've been already training, indirectly giving them weapons. Now there's consideration, probably pressure from the Pentagon, because they say those are the best fighters against Daesh. I imagine that's a problem for you.
Look, we are there not to fight the others, Daesh. If our aim was to fight those groups that you mentioned, they are not the Kurds, they are the terrorist organization, PYD, YPG. There are Kurds in all over Syria and different groups that PYD, YPG hates them. Because
yes, but the Americans like them, and they say they're the best fighters against
Daesh.
So
if our aim was to fight directly to them, we will enter Syria from Kobani or somewhere else. Our aim is to defeat Daesh. But what we agreed with Americans is that only few hundred YPG forces could pass the Euphrates River to the west for particularly Mumich operation. And according to the agreement, immediately after the operation, they will go back. We found out that some of them are still there. Everybody has to respect the deal that we are making. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense that we are in coalition or we are united our force against Daesh and this. Secondly, relying on a terrorist group in our fight against another terrorist group is the biggest mistake.
And arming them is in
arming them is very dangerous. And those arms given to those forces actually sold by them to Daesh and other terrorist organizations.
So the US
it also happened in Iraq because of the economic situation. So we have to be very careful. While we saw the success in, for instance, Jarablus and beyond, why don't we support the moderate forces who are fighting for the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country? Those PYD, YPG are not fighting for territorial integrity of Syria. They are fighting to create their own canton, possibly their own state. Are we for territorial integrity of Syria, or are we for division of the country? This is the question. But whatever the reason is, cooperating with a terrorist organization is not appropriate, it is not acceptable. So America, United States, always fighting terrorism. But in this case, unfortunately, they are cooperating a terrorist organization who is also attacking Turkey. And the terrorists who are responsible for the suicide bomb attacks in Ankara, two suicide bomb attacks, came from those camps that the United States is giving weapons. This is unacceptable.
Very quickly, because we don't have so much time, another contention another bone of contention between the US and Turkey is the fate of Fethullah Gulen, the cleric. Turkey accuses him of being a terrorist, of being behind the coup against the president a few months ago. The US, for now, does not want to extradite him. Are you hoping that the US will eventually agree and that he will indeed go to Turkey like he said he would if he's extradited?
We are not accusing this terrorist organization. We are 100% sure that this terrorist organization, FETÖ, is behind the attempted coup, behind the failed coup in Turkey. Everybody, including Americans, United States, know that he is and his affiliates are behind this attempted coup. And we ask United States to extradite him to us. Americans told us that they want to cooperate with us, and they asked for the evidences.
Did you provide it to them?
Yes, we provided some evidences. We provided evidences about the illegal activities he himself and his affiliates directly involved, actively involved before the coup, before the attempted coup. And now we actually transmitted the evidences related to coup, evidence that he himself and his affiliates are behind this attempted coup. So the legal process has started. We are expecting from United States, our ally and our model partner, to finalize this process and extradite him as soon as possible.
When is as soon as possible?
Well, the courts will decide that.
But you're optimistic.
We are optimistic that terrorists, such terrorists, has no place in democratic societies.
Okay, Mevlut Cavusoglu.
They have to be brought to the justice.
Okay, we'll follow this, obviously. Thank you very much, Mevlut Cavusoglu, for being our guest today, and thank you for watching this interview here on France 24.